There was a sound at the door, a single careful sound, like someone testing the lock, checking if it would give. I froze in bed, phone in my hand, screen showing 2:03 a.m. The porch light was off. I'd turned it off myself before bed. Thought darkness would make me invisible, but I already knew who it was. Before I even heard his voice, before the knock came, before anything else happened, I knew, because I'd been waiting for this moment since the day I left. This story was sent to me by a woman who asked to remain anonymous. These are her words. Since the morning I'd packed a single bag and driven away while he was at work, since I'd convinced myself that distance meant safety, that 200 miles and a friend's spare room would be enough. Cassie. His voice came through the door. Calm, controlled, the kind of calm that meant danger, the kind I'd learned to recognize over 3 years. Open the door, Cassie. I know you're awake. My cat Molly pressed against my leg. She was shaking, or maybe I was shaking. Hard to tell anymore. We need to talk, he continued, still calm, still reasonable, still sounding like the man everyone trusted, the private detective, the problem solver, the good guy. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just waited in the dark, hoping he'd leave, knowing he wouldn't, because Derek had never been good at accepting no, and I'd never been good at making him hear it. I met Derek 3 years ago at a coffee shop. He'd been sitting alone, reading a book about body language. When I'd asked about it, he'd smiled, said he was a private investigator, that reading people was his job. You'd be surprised what people reveal without knowing it, he'd said. At the time, it had sounded fascinating, impressive. Now I understood it was a warning I'd missed. He'd asked me out that same day, taken me to dinner, asked questions about my life, my family, my job at the marketing firm, my routine. I'd thought he was interested, attentive, the kind of man who actually listened. He remembered everything I told him, every detail, every story, every name. I'd been flattered, hadn't realized he was filing it all away, building a database, creating a profile. That's what investigators do. They collect information, store it, use it later. I'd given him everything he needed to control me, and I'd done it willingly. Smiling, thinking I'd found someone who cared. He'd moved in after 6 months, said it made sense, that we were spending every night together anyway. I'd agreed. Hadn't seen the trap closing, hadn't noticed how my apartment had slowly become his, how my routines had become ours, how my life had become something he managed. Derek's reputation was his weapon. Everyone trusted him. Neighbors, friends, even strangers. He was the kind of man who'd help jumpstart your car, who'd watch your house while you were on vacation, who'd give advice about security cameras and door locks. People would see him and feel safer. That was the cruelest part. His job was literally to make people feel protected, to solve problems, to find answers. When he'd introduce himself at parties, "I'm a private investigator," people's eyes would light up. They'd ask questions, want stories, want to know if it was like TV. He'd laugh, be modest, say most of it was paperwork and patience, but then he'd share just enough to seem interesting, capable, trustworthy. He worked with lawyers, with insurance companies, with police departments sometimes, had connections, references, a clean record. When things got bad, when I tried to tell people what was happening, that reputation became my prison. Because how could someone so respected be cruel? How could someone whose job was finding truth be living a lie? They believed him every time, and I learned that respectability is the best disguise. At home, he'd study me like a case, like I was evidence to be analyzed. Where I looked when I spoke, how long I paused before answering. If I smiled too fast, he'd say I was hiding something. If I didn't smile at all, he'd ask who'd made me upset. "You're doing that thing again," he'd say. "What thing?" "That thing where you're not quite present." "Where are you really?" I'd insist I was right there, right in front of him. But he'd shake his head. "I can tell when someone's lying. It's literally my job. Your pupils dilate, your left hand tenses, you're somewhere else." I'd start doubting myself, start wondering if maybe I was somewhere else, if maybe I was hiding things without knowing it, if maybe the problem was me. He'd ask about my day, every detail, who I'd talked to, what they'd said, what I'd said back, just catching up. He'd say, "Just interested in your life." But the questions felt like interrogation, like I was a suspect instead of a girlfriend. And every answer became something he'd reference later, something he'd use to prove I'd been inconsistent, untrustworthy, suspicious. It was constant, exhausting, like living with someone who was always watching, always recording, always waiting for me to slip up. He started checking my phone after 8 months. Said it was normal, that couples shared everything. "If you have nothing to hide, why would it bother you?" he'd asked. I'd handed it over, because refusing would mean I did have something to hide. Even though I didn't, even though my messages were boring, work stuff, friend stuff, normal life. He'd scroll through everything, read my texts, my emails, my social media messages. Sometimes he'd ask about things from weeks ago. "Who's Tyler?" "A coworker. I told you about him. You said his name was Tom." "No, Tyler. Tom is the other guy in marketing." "Right, Tyler, the one you have lunch with sometimes." I didn't have lunch with Tyler, had never had lunch with Tyler, but denying it made me sound defensive, guilty. So I just nod, agree, let him rewrite my life. He'd check my phone every few days, then every day, then multiple times a day. I'd come home and find it moved, unlocked. He'd say he was just charging it. But we both knew. I started deleting messages before he could read them. Not because they were bad, just because I wanted something private. Something he couldn't analyze, but he'd notice. "Why are your messages with Amanda gone?" I deleted them, just clearing space. "What did they say?" "Nothing, just normal stuff." "Then why delete them?" There was no right answer. Delete them, and I was hiding things. Keep them, and he'd find something to question. I was trapped either way. I discovered the GPS tracker when my car wouldn't start. The mechanic had found it, small device attached under the chassis. "Someone's tracking you," he'd said. "Boyfriend? Husband?" I'd nodded. Felt my face burn. "Want me to remove it?" I'd almost said yes. Then realized Derek would know, would ask how I'd found it, would accuse me of looking, of being paranoid, of not trusting him. So I said no, left it there. That night Derek had asked about my day, listed every place I'd gone, noticed you stopped at the mall. Just browsing. For an hour and 20 minutes, time got away from me. "Did you buy anything?" "No." "So you just wandered around for over an hour and didn't buy anything?" He said it like I'd committed a crime. Like browsing was suspicious. I'd started planning my routes, taking the most direct paths, No stops, no detours, nothing that would need explaining. My car became another cage, another way he controlled where I went, how long I stayed, who I might see. Friends stopped inviting me places because I'd always have to explain, always have to justify, always have to answer to someone who made normal activities sound like lies. I told my friend Amber once that Derek tracked me through GPS. We were having coffee. First time in months we'd met up. He knows where I am all the time, I said, kept my voice low. Careful. Amber had laughed. Not meanly, just not understanding. Don't all guys get a little protective? This isn't protective. He questions everything. Checks everything. I can't even go to the store without explaining why it took 20 minutes instead of 15. That's intense. Have you talked to him about it? Talking makes it worse. He twists everything I say, makes me sound crazy. Maybe couples therapy? I'd tried suggesting that once. Derek had said therapists were scammers, that he could read people better than any therapist, that we didn't need someone else telling us how to communicate. Amber meant well, but she didn't get it, couldn't get it. She went home to a boyfriend who trusted her, who didn't track her, who didn't treat every conversation like an investigation. I'd stopped trying to explain after that. Stop mentioning the small things. The way he'd turn off the Wi-Fi when I tried to message people. The way he'd make sure every window latch was locked when I was home. The way protection and possession felt identical in that house. People don't believe in cruelty without bruises, without proof they can see. And Derek never left marks. He started isolating me slowly. So slowly I didn't notice until it was done. First, it was suggestions. Do you really want to go out tonight? You look tired. I'd agree, stay home. Then it was concerns. Amanda's kind of dramatic, don't you think? All that complaining about her job. I'd defend her. But the seed was planted. Then it was observations. You always seem stressed after seeing people. Like it drains you. I'd start to wonder if he was right. If maybe I was more introverted than I thought. If maybe staying home was better. He'd make plans sound exhausting. That's a long drive just for dinner. We could order in. Be more comfortable. I'd cancel. Apologize to friends. Eventually, they stopped inviting me. Stopped trying. You're never available anymore, Amber had said. I know, I'm sorry. Things have been busy. With what? You work from home now. You never go anywhere. I'd wanted to say, because he makes leaving feel impossible. Because every outing requires explanation. Because the anxiety of coming home and being questioned isn't worth it. But I just said I'd been tired, and she'd stopped pushing. That's how isolation works. Gradually, quietly, until you look up one day and realize you're completely alone, and the only person left is the one who made sure everyone else disappeared. Derek memorized all my passwords, said it was for emergencies. What if something happens to you? I need to access your accounts. I'd given them to him. Email, banking, social media, everything seemed reasonable at the time. Seemed like what people in serious relationships did. He'd check my email while I was in the shower, my bank account while I made dinner, my social media while I slept. I'd wake up to questions. Why did you transfer $50 yesterday? Paid Amber back for lunch last month. You didn't mention you owed her money. It was just lunch. I forgot. You forgot you owed someone $50. The interrogation would spiral. He'd pull up my account history, point out every transaction, every charge, make me explain things from weeks ago. Target, $17. What did you buy? I don't remember. Toiletries maybe. Maybe? Or definitely. Definitely. Shampoo and toothpaste. That's more than $17. It was on sale. I'd started keeping receipts, creating a file, just in case. Just so I could prove I wasn't lying. But that felt crazy. Felt like I was building a case against myself, against normal life. He'd changed my banking password once, for security, he'd said. Given me the new one. But the message was clear. These weren't my accounts anymore. Nothing was really mine. Everything was ours. And ours meant his to access, his to monitor, his to control. The breaking point wasn't dramatic, wasn't a fight or a threat or a moment of clarity. I was just tired. It was a Tuesday afternoon. He'd called me reckless for commenting on an old friend's social media post. You're engaging with people who don't know you anymore. People who could get the wrong idea. It was just a birthday message. That included 3 heart emojis. That sends a message. What message? That I remember his birthday? That you're available, interested, open to reconnecting. I'd stared at him, tried to find words, any words, but there weren't any left. I wasn't defending myself anymore, wasn't explaining, wasn't trying to make him understand. I was just tired. Tired of being analyzed, tired of being wrong, tired of living like every action was evidence of some crime I hadn't committed. So I said nothing, just nodded, went to our bedroom, started packing. 1 duffel bag, clothes, toiletries, phone charger, Molly's carrier. I waited until he left for work Wednesday morning. Didn't leave a note, didn't explain, just locked the door. Put Molly in the car, and drove. Didn't have a plan, just knew I had to leave. Had to get out before I forgot who I used to be. Before his version of me became the only version that existed. I drove until I ran out of gas and courage. 4 hours. Stopped at a gas station in a town I'd never heard of. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the pump. I'd called Amber from the parking lot. Can I stay with you? Just for a little while? What happened? I left him. Silence. Then, oh my God, yes, of course. Are you okay? I wasn't okay. But I said I was. Gave her my ETA. Got back in the car. Molly meowed from her carrier. Small, scared sounds. I know, I told her. I know. We're okay. We're going to be okay. The 2-hour drive to Amber's felt like crossing into a different world. Every mile between me and Derek felt like breathing. Like the air was thinner, clearer, less suffocating. But I kept checking the rearview mirror, kept expecting to see his car, to see him following, to see that this escape was temporary. Just another thing he'd tracked, another thing he'd find. Amber lived in a small apartment outside the city, 2nd floor. She met me at the door, hugged me, didn't ask questions, just helped me carry my bag upstairs. Molly immediately hid under the spare bed. You can stay as long as you need. As Amber said, I'd nodded, tried to smile, wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that nowhere was far enough, that he'd find me. That leaving had just delayed the inevitable. The first 2 nights I couldn't sleep. I'd lie in Amber's spare room, stare at the ceiling, listen to every sound, every car that passed, every door that closed in the building, every footstep in the hallway. I kept waiting to hear his voice, to hear him knock, to hear him explain to Amber that I was confused, that I needed help, that he was just worried about me. He'd be so reasonable, so calm, so believable. And Amber, despite knowing me, despite everything, might believe him. Because that's what Derek did. He made people believe him. I learned to live quietly in her apartment, kept the curtains closed, didn't answer the door, didn't tell anyone where I was, not my coworkers, not my family, not anyone who might accidentally tell him. Amber went to work during the day. I'd stay inside, work on my laptop, freelance design projects that didn't require an office, didn't require going anywhere. Molly stayed under the bed mostly, would come out at night, curl against me. We were both learning to exist in small spaces, in silence, in hiding. After a week, I started to breathe again, started to think maybe this could work. Maybe distance would weaken him, maybe he'd move on, find someone else to monitor, someone else to investigate, someone else to control. Then Amber's neighbor came by. The neighbor knocked on a Sunday afternoon. I was in the spare room, working. Heard Amber answer the door. Heard voices, friendly, normal. Then Amber called my name. "Cassie, you have mail." I came out, confused. Nobody knew I was here. The neighbor, an older woman, kind face, smiled at me. "Your husband dropped this off last week, said you'd moved in temporarily. Such a polite young man, so concerned about you." She handed me an envelope, plain, white. My name written in Derek's handwriting. I took it, felt my throat go dry, couldn't speak. "He seemed really worried," the neighbor continued. "Said you'd been going through a hard time, health issues, that you needed quiet." Amber looked at me, alarmed. "He was here? When? Thursday, maybe?" Said he was just dropping off some things you'd forgotten. "Asked me to give you this when I saw you." The neighbor left. Amber locked the door. "Cassie," I opened the envelope. One piece of paper inside, just 2 words in Derek's handwriting. "Found you." Nothing else. No threat, no explanation. Just those 2 words. Proof that distance meant nothing, that hiding was pointless, that he could find me anywhere. Because that's what he did. He found people. It was his job. That night, I double-checked every lock, every window. Pushed a chair against Amber's front door. Molly curled against my chest, her ears twitching at every sound. I told myself he wouldn't come, that he was too smart, too careful, that showing up would be proof, would be evidence. People like Derek didn't leave evidence. They were too calculated, too controlled, too aware of how things looked. But people like Derek also didn't let go, didn't accept losing, didn't walk away when someone tried to leave. I'd read about it once, about how the most dangerous time for someone leaving an abusive relationship was right after they left, how that's when control could turn to violence. But Derek had never been violent, had never raised a hand, had never even raised his voice much. He didn't need to. His weapons were different, psychological, invisible, the kind that left no marks. But maybe that would change. Maybe losing control would push him to something different, something more visible, more desperate. I wanted to call the police, file a report, get something on record. But what would I say? That my ex-boyfriend found me? That he left a note? That he'd been watching? They'd ask if he'd threatened me. I'd have to say no. They'd ask if he'd hurt me. I'd have to say no. And then they'd ask what crime had been committed. And I wouldn't have an answer. It started at 2:04 a.m., headlights through the blinds, bright, deliberate, sweeping across the window like a searchlight. Then a car door. Slam. Loud enough to wake the building. I was already awake, already waiting, already knowing. Derek's voice cut through the night. "Cassie, I know you're in there." Not shouting, not quite, but loud enough, forceful enough, angry enough. Amber woke up, came to my door. "Is that, yeah, I'm calling the police." "Wait." I grabbed her arm. "He hasn't done anything yet. They won't come. Or if they do, they'll just talk to him, and he'll be reasonable, apologetic, explain he's worried, that I've been unstable, and they'll believe him. But he's outside screaming." "He's not screaming. Listen, he's being just loud enough to make a point, but not loud enough to seem crazy. That's how he works." Another sound. Metal on wood. Rhythmic. Hard. The bat hitting Amber's front door. Once, twice, 3 times. Each strike made the frame shudder. Made the whole apartment feel less safe. "You're embarrassing me, Cassie." Derek's voice, still controlled, still measured, making me look bad, making me chase you like some kind of criminal. I grabbed Molly, put her in her carrier. She hissed, scared, grabbed my keys, the cash I'd hidden in my bag, looked at Amber. "Back door? Now." We ran through Amber's apartment. She grabbed her keys, didn't ask questions, just moved. The back door led to a fire escape. Metal stairs, rusted. They creaked under our weight. Below, the parking lot. My car was 3 spaces down. Derek was still at the front door, still hitting it with the bat, still calling my name. We reached the ground, ran. I fumbled with my keys, hands shaking, Molly's carrier banging against my leg. Finally got the door unlocked. Threw everything in. Amber stood there. "Go," she said. "Just go. I'll handle him. He'll ask about me. I'll tell him you left hours ago. That I don't know where. Go." I drove, barefoot, still in my nightshirt. Didn't think about clothes or money or where I was going, just drove. Behind me through the rearview mirror I saw Derek appear around the building. Saw him spot my car. Saw him run toward his. But I was already on the street, already turning, already disappearing into the grid of roads that all looked the same at 3 a.m. I drove until dawn, until the sky turned gray, then pink, then blue, until I was 2 cities away, until I couldn't remember the last turn I'd taken. Molly meowed softly in her carrier, small, scared sounds that matched my breathing. At a gas station, I realized I had no shoes. My feet were bleeding, cut from the gravel, from the fire escape, from running. The attendant looked at me. Young guy, bored. "You okay?" "Just moved," I said. Smiled, tried to look normal. "Forgot to pack everything." He nodded, didn't care. That was the first time I learned how invisible fear looks. How trauma appears ordinary when you're good at hiding it. I stayed in my car for 2 days. Parked behind a shopping center. Slept in the back seat with Molly. Used gas station bathrooms. Bought food from convenience stores. Tried to figure out what to do next. Couldn't go back to Amber's. Couldn't risk him finding me there again. Couldn't risk him tracking my phone. I turned it off. Bought a cheap prepaid phone from a drugstore. New number. Nobody had it. Nobody could call. On the 3rd day, I drove to the police station. Small town, 30 miles from where Amber lived, 60 miles from Derek. Far enough, I hoped. The station was old. Brick building. American flag out front. I sat in the parking lot for an hour, trying to find the words, trying to figure out how to explain. Finally went inside. The officer at the desk was older, tired looking, asked how he could help. I told him about Derek, about the tracking, the controlling, the the showing up at Amber's, about the note, the bat, the chasing. He listened, wrote things down, pen making soft scratching sounds on paper. When I finished, he asked, "Did he hit you?" "No." "Did he threaten to hurt you?" "Not directly." "But did he break into the apartment?" "No, he was outside, but he had a bat." "Did he hit anyone with it?" "No, just the door." The officer nodded, set down his pen. "You can file for a restraining order if he shows up again." I stared at him. "If he shows up again? That's when we can act. Right now, he knocked on a door. That's not illegal." He tracked me. For months, he monitored everything I did. "Were you living together?" "Yes." "Then it's complicated. Couples share things, have access to things, unless there's clear evidence of stalking." He found me at my friend's apartment, left me a note saying "found you," but he didn't threaten you in the note? The note itself is a threat. It means he's watching. I understand you're scared, but legally we need more. An explicit threat, an act of violence, something concrete. He handed me a pamphlet, Domestic Violence Resources. The paper was worn, folded, like it had been handed out many times. "There's a number for a hotline. They can help you with the restraining order process. And there's a shelter if you need somewhere safe." I took the pamphlet, felt it crumple in my hand. "What about the GPS tracker?" He put one on my car without telling me. "Were you together when it was installed?" "I don't know when he installed it. If you were in a relationship sharing a vehicle, again, it's complicated, not clearly illegal." I left. The hallway outside smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. A woman behind the glass window smiled, polite, professional, the kind of smile for paperwork, not for people. Outside, the sky was gray, overcast, the kind of gray that promised nothing. I sat in my car, read the pamphlet, called the hotline. A woman answered, kind voice, patient. She listened to everything, then said, "You did the right thing leaving. That's the hardest part. But nobody believes me. Nobody thinks it's real because he didn't hit me." I believe you. What you're describing is coercive control. It's real abuse. It's just harder to prove. So what do? Stay away from him. Don't respond to contact. Document everything. Keep records. And when you're ready, we can help you file for an order of protection. I thanked her, hung up, but I knew documentation wouldn't help. Because Derek was too smart for that, too careful. He'd never leave evidence, never put anything in writing, never do anything that could be traced back to him. He'd just keep finding me, keep watching, keep waiting, until I either came back or broke completely. 3 weeks later, I tried normal, got a job at a small bookstore. The manager was kind, older woman, said I looked tired but dependable. I worked mornings, stocking shelves, running the register, recommending books to customers. It was quiet, simple, safe. For a while, the store was near a river, small town. Nobody knew me. I'd rented a room in a house with 2 other people, told them my name was Emily, said I was new to town, looking for a fresh start. They didn't ask questions. One afternoon, a man came into the bookstore. Tall, dark hair, leather jacket, same build as Derek, same way of standing, same way of looking around like he was cataloging everything. My body froze before my brain caught up. Hands went numb, vision tunneled, heart racing so fast I thought I'd pass out. He walked toward me. I stepped back, knocked into the display behind me. Books tumbled, scattered across the floor. Everyone stared. The man stopped, "Are you okay?" Not Derek's voice. Not Derek's face. Just someone who moved like him, who stood like him, who triggered every alarm my body had learned. "I'm fine," I said, voice shaking, just clumsy. I laughed, tried to make it normal. The customers laughed with me, helped pick up books, moved on. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. That's the thing about survival. It performs well in public, looks almost normal, until something triggers the collapse. That night I quit, called the manager. Said I'd found something closer to home. She understood, wished me well. But home had stopped being a place. Home was just wherever I was running from. I moved again, different town, different name on the mailbox, different story about why I'd left the last place. Every move became a version of hiding. I'd find a room to rent, pay cash when possible, use fake names, make up histories. Just going through a divorce, I'd tell landlords, looking for peace and quiet. Peace sounded simpler than protection. Sounded normal instead of desperate. The rooms were always small, temporary. The kind of places that didn't ask for references, that didn't run background checks, that took first and last month's rent and didn't look too closely. I'd worked temporary jobs, retail, data entry, anything that paid cash or didn't require much information. I'd stay 3 months, maybe 4, then move again, before anyone could know me, before anyone could mention me to someone else, before Derek could find another thread to follow. Molly stayed with me through everything, small constant, the only thing from my old life that I'd kept. She'd learned to travel, to hide, to be quiet when footsteps passed in hallways. We'd become experts at disappearing. At night, the same dreams returned. Doors that wouldn't lock, windows left open. His voice threaded through darkness. I'd wake up checking locks, checking windows, checking that my phone was off, that my car was where I'd parked it, that nobody was watching. 6 months after I left, I saw him, maybe saw him. I was at a grocery store. Small town 200 miles from where I'd started. I'd been living there for 5 weeks. Had a job washing dishes at a diner. A room above a garage. A routine that felt almost stable. I was in the cereal aisle, reaching for a box. Saw someone in my peripheral vision. Tall, dark coat, same posture, same way of moving. I dropped the box, turned to look. Nobody there. Just an empty aisle, just my mind creating ghosts, but my body didn't believe it. Hands shaking, heart racing, that familiar sensation of being watched, of being hunted, of being prey. I left my cart, walked out, didn't buy anything, drove back to my room, locked the door, pushed furniture against it. Molly hid under the bed. I sat against the wall, tried to breathe, told myself it wasn't him, couldn't be him, that I was being paranoid, that trauma was making me see things. But the feeling stayed, that certainty, that knowledge that he was close, that he'd found me again. That distance was an illusion. I moved the next day, didn't even give notice, just packed, left, found another town, another room, another temporary life. The running had become permanent, the hiding had become normal, and I didn't know how to stop. Didn't know if stopping was even possible, because Derek was patient, methodical. He'd wait, he'd watch, he'd find patterns, and eventually he'd find me. That's what investigators do. A year passed. Then 2. I'd lived in 12 different places, had 17 different jobs, had used 4 different names. I'd learned to exist without existing. to move through the world without leaving traces, to survive without living. Some days I forgot what my real voice sounded like, forgot what it felt like to laugh, forgot what it meant to feel safe. I'd become a ghost, haunting my own life. I stopped calling Amber, stopped calling anyone. Because every connection was a thread. Every relationship was a risk. Every person who knew me was someone Derek could question, could track, could use. I'd see women sometimes, in coffee shops, at grocery stores. Women with partners who seemed attentive, who asked where they were going, who checked their phones, who wanted to know everything. And I'd wonder if they knew, if they understood yet, if they could see the cage before it closed completely. But I never said anything, because who would believe me? Who would listen to a woman say, that man who looks so caring is actually controlling you, that attention is actually surveillance, that love is actually possession? They'd think I was bitter, jealous, crazy, the way everyone had thought about me. So I stayed quiet, watched, kept moving, kept hiding, kept waiting for the day Derek would stop looking, would move on, would forget. But people like him don't forget, don't move on, don't stop. They just get more patient. I changed my appearance, cut my hair short, dyed it dark, started wearing glasses I didn't need, lost weight from stress, from moving, from never staying anywhere long enough to feel comfortable eating. People who'd known me before wouldn't recognize me now. I barely recognized myself. Sometimes I'd catch my reflection in store windows, in bathroom mirrors, in car windows, and I'd see a stranger, someone hollow, someone always looking over their shoulder, someone who'd forgotten how to be still. I got a tattoo, small one, on my wrist, a reminder, you survived, because some days I needed that proof. Needed something concrete, something that said, you're still here, you're still fighting, you haven't disappeared completely. I met a woman once, in a laundromat. She had bruises, tried to hide them with makeup, with long sleeves, but I saw them. We made eye contact. She looked away quickly, too quickly. I wanted to say something, to tell her I understood, that I'd been there, that leaving was possible, but I didn't know how, didn't know what words would help instead of hurt. So I just smiled, small, sad. She smiled back, and in that moment, we understood each other. Two survivors, two ghosts, two women who'd learned that some kinds of violence don't leave visible marks, but leave scars anyway. I started writing things down, in a notebook I kept hidden. Every time I moved, every time I thought I saw him, every time I felt watched, documented everything, dates, times, places, feelings, not because I thought anyone would believe me, but because I needed proof for myself. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that this was real, that what happened to me mattered, even if nobody else thought so. The notebook filled slowly. Pages of running, pages of fear, pages of moments that looked like nothing to anyone else but meant everything to me. March 15th. Saw someone who looked like him at grocery store, left without shopping, moved 2 days later. June 3rd, got letter at new address, no return address, just said still thinking about you. Didn't recognize handwriting but felt wrong, left that night. September 22nd, thought someone followed me from work, took wrong turns, lost them, maybe imagined it, maybe not. The entries blurred together after a while, became a map of paranoia, of survival, of a life lived in constant motion. Some people might read it and think I was unstable, delusional, creating threats that didn't exist. But I knew better. Knew that hypervigilance wasn't paranoia when someone really was hunting you. Knew that running wasn't cowardice when staying meant losing yourself completely. 3 years after I left, I tried therapy, found a counselor who specialized in domestic violence. Took me weeks to make the appointment. Weeks more to actually go. I sat in her office, small room, soft lighting, comfortable chairs. She asked me to tell her what happened. I tried. Started from the beginning, from meeting Derek, from the coffee shop, from thinking his attention was love, but the words felt inadequate. How do you explain coercive control to someone who hasn't lived it? How do you make someone understand that abuse doesn't need bruises? That violence can be invisible? He never hit me, I said. That's what people don't understand. He never had to. That doesn't make it less real, she said. Psychological abuse is abuse. Coercive control is recognized by law in many places now. But not here. Not where I lived, not where I reported it. I know, I'm sorry. The system fails survivors in ways that protect abusers. We talked for an hour, then another. She helped me understand things I'd blamed myself for. Helped me see that leaving was brave, that surviving was enough, that I didn't have to be okay to be strong. But she couldn't help me stop running, couldn't help me feel safe, couldn't undo 3 years of looking over my shoulder, because Derek was still out there, still potentially looking, still possibly waiting. And until I knew for certain he'd stopped, I couldn't stop either. I went back to my real name eventually, 4 years after leaving. Filed paperwork, got new ID, became Cassie again, officially. Not because I felt safe, but because I was tired of being someone else. Tired of hiding, tired of running. I knew it was a risk, knew Derek could find me through databases, through records, through all the ways investigators track people. But I did it anyway, because living as someone else forever meant he'd won, meant he'd erased me completely. And I wasn't willing to give him that. I settled in a small city, got an apartment, 6th floor, good locks, security cameras in the building, doorman. I chose it specifically, chose a place that felt defensible. I got a job doing graphic design remotely, built a client base, made enough to live, to pay rent, to buy food for myself and Molly. Started rebuilding something like a life. It wasn't the life I'd had before Derek, wasn't the life I'd imagined when I was younger. But it was mine. And that mattered. I made a friend. Slowly, carefully. A woman who lived in my building. We'd have coffee sometimes. Talk about work, about books, about normal things. I didn't tell her about Derek. Didn't tell her I'd been running for 4 years. Didn't tell her I still checked locks 3 times before bed. That I still jumped at unexpected sounds. That I still scanned every crowd for his face. She just knew me as Cassie, the quiet graphic designer, the woman with the cat, the one who kept to herself mostly. And that was enough. People ask me sometimes what Derek did to me. When I mention in passing that I left a bad relationship, they want details, want to know what made it bad. They're expecting something they can understand, something concrete, something they can point to and say, yes, that's abuse, that's wrong, that's illegal. I say he never hit me, say he never even raised a hand. They look confused. Then what did he do? How do I explain? How do I make someone understand that he studied me like a case, that he tracked my every movement, that he questioned every word? that he made me feel like I was always lying, even when I was telling the truth. That he isolated me so slowly I didn't notice until I was completely alone. That he controlled me through my own doubt, through my own fear, through making me think I was the problem. I say, he was a private investigator. He used those skills at home, made me feel like I was under constant surveillance, like I couldn't breathe without explaining why. They nod, but I can see they don't really get it. Because surveillance sounds abstract, sounds like something you could just ignore, sounds like something that shouldn't hurt. But he didn't hurt you, they say. Like that's a question. Like they need confirmation. Not physically, I say. But he rearranged the air around me until I stopped trusting silence. They don't know what to do with that. With invisible wounds, with trauma that doesn't photograph, with pain that doesn't show. 5 years after I left, I still look for him. In crowds, in parking lots, in reflections. My therapist says it's hypervigilance, as it's normal for survivors, says it might fade eventually. But I don't know if I believe her. Because Derek is still out there, still living his life, still being the trusted private investigator, still being the man everyone believes. I looked him up once, online, public records, he'd moved, different city, still doing the same work, still getting good reviews, still being recommended, still being trusted. There were photos, him at professional events, him receiving awards, him smiling that same smile, the one that looked genuine to everyone else. But I knew better, knew what was underneath. I wondered if there was someone new, someone else he was monitoring, tracking, controlling, someone who thought his attention was love, who hadn't learned yet that his care was possession. I wanted to warn them, whoever they were. But how? What would I say? How would I prove it? I'd be the crazy ex-girlfriend, the bitter one, the one who couldn't let go. He'd have explanations for everything. Would say I was unstable, that I'd had mental health issues, that he'd tried to help me but I'd run away. And people would believe him, because they always did. I don't sleep well anymore. Haven't slept well in 5 years. I take pills sometimes. Melatonin, prescription sleep aids, things that help me drop off, but I still wake up 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., always checking sounds, always listening, always making sure the locks are still locked, the windows still closed, that nobody's testing the door. Molly sleeps next to me. She's older now. Gray around her muzzle, moves slower, but she still tucks herself against me at night. Still purrs when I'm anxious. Still knows when I need her. She's the only constant, the only thing from that life that I wanted to keep. My therapist asks if I've considered dating, meeting someone new, moving forward. I have considered it, but then I think about explaining, about telling someone why I need to know where they are, why I need access to their phone, why I need them to understand that certain behaviors that might seem normal to them, trigger panic in me, why I can't trust easily, can't believe promises, can't accept care without suspecting control. It's too much, too complicated, too heavy. So I stay alone. And maybe that's another way Derek won. Another way he took something from me. Another way his invisible violence left visible scars. But I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm Cassie again. And some days, that's enough. I saw something the other day. A woman in a coffee shop. She was on the phone explaining where she was, what she'd ordered. how long she'd be. Her voice was careful, apologetic, defensive. And I recognized it, that tone, that posture, that fear wrapped in normalcy. I wanted to walk over to tell her, "You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to just justify your movements. You don't have to live under interrogation." But I didn't, because she wasn't ready. Because saying it out loud might push her deeper in. Because leaving has to be her choice, her timing, her decision. All I could do was witness, recognize, remember. People still ask what Derek did to me. They want something they can see, something they can fix, something that makes sense. I tell them he never hit me, never threatened me physically, never broke the law in ways anyone could prove. He just rearranged the air around me until I stopped trusting silence, until I stopped trusting myself, until I forgot who I was before him. That's why no one believed me, because abuse without bruises looks like nothing. Sounds like exaggeration. Feels like something you should be able to just walk away from. But it's not. It's a cage built from attention, from concern, from questions that sound like caring but function as control. And by the time you realize you're trapped, the door has been locked for so long you've forgotten what freedom feels like. I'm free now, or as free as someone can be when they're still looking over their shoulder, still jumping at sounds, still running from ghosts. But I'm here, I'm alive, I'm telling this story, and maybe that's enough. Maybe survival is enough. Maybe just making it out, even damaged, even changed, even half the person you used to be, is victory. Because I'm not his anymore. Not his to track, not his to monitor, not his to control. I'm just Cassie, trying to remember how to exist without fear, trying to rebuild a life from fragments, trying to believe that someday, maybe, I'll stop waiting for him to find me. That someday the door will just be a door. The silence will just be silence, and I'll be able to breathe without counting the exits.